Testing, testing. 1, 2. Let's see how we do. Okay, what is up, Generals? We are back with Ultimate General Civil War, and this is the J&P Rebalance Mod Diet Legendary Union campaign. And this will be my third attempt, I think, of trying to record this battle, so it should be a fun time. There we go. All right, awesome. Let's also turn the sound effects down a bit. Sounds good. All right. So we are heading to the battle at Rendezvous. It's not really a battle, but we're heading to cut off the Confederates at a rendezvous. And this is not the force that I'm taking, I don't think. No. Yeah, that'll do.
Sir, yes, sir!
All right, so we're taking to the battle here. A solid block of infantry, and then 2 units of cavalry, one of whom has the spotting perk. Now, this is important for us. This is a fight with kind of some rough lines of sight, as usual. So let's just check that we are recording. Sounds good. Yeah, awesome. Like I said, this is the second time trying to record this battle and third time playing it. Once I did kind of a test run. State of the Army before we jump into the fight. Our career breakdown is as such: economy, medicine, some training, some AO, some logistics, and some recon. At the end of this fight, I'll be bumping to recon 4, and then probably not touching it for a hot minute. One more Pippin AO at the end of the next micro battle, and then after that, I'll be putting points probably into medicine or training, and to sort of bump the Army up. Got some officers wounded on the backbench and a colonel ready in reserve. We have picked up as many weapons as I intend to pick up at the moment. Ultimately, though, I will pick up maybe some more JF Browns when I get the chance, or some of these revolving carbines. I'm not really sure. I do like the revolving rifles. There's potential there, especially for a sharpshooter unit of sorts. So let's get right there, I'd say. Let's jump in. Now, Rendezvous is an interesting fight. You start with, let me see, what do I want to take here? 2 cav for sure. And then I think infantry. Yeah, that should do. Oh, no artillery, not yet. Okay, so you start with about half your force, and then the other half comes in on this board edge. Most of the Confederates come in from here, and from here, and there's a force that's waiting for you in the middle, 1 or 2 brigades, not many. We are still fighting in the broader, parts of the Peninsula campaign, and the other thing that we have to be aware of as we begin this mission is that 2 units of skirmishers spawn right around here. So what the plan then is, we're going to start over with our force and move to occupy this line here. And when the reinforcements all come in, maybe they'll be spurned to attack, and we can kind of defend that creek bed. And if they wait, then what we'll do ultimately then is try and push our force up here, occupy these positions, and then basically at that point in time, we're occupying this line of the creek, defending against that. Again, trying to bait attacks. I have artillery coming in off the side of the edge, a Napoleon unit and a James unit. And we'll do a double line here, or do supply wagons, and then the dashing and handsome Fiasco himself. All right, and we'll advance to about Meow. 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 And we want you seeing all of this as it happens. So the fight goes a couple of different ways depending on kind of how the AI breaks things down. I'm going to let this play out in real time, even though it's slow for a minute, just while I can talk and kind of get spun up on what exactly is going to happen in the course of the fight. So I have seen this fight kind of go two ways. Yeah, that is moving okay. So they either just passively sit right here in the middle if they can't see anything, or they attack pretty aggressively, and you can defend this line and keep yourself, from suffering insane casualties. I would prefer that they attack, and so in some versions of this fight, I have run down both of the units of skirmishers, and I feel like it's better if one of them escapes. So I think one of the things I noticed in testing is if I stay on this line, they don't attack because they can't see anything. I might try baiting charges with the supply wagons or maybe with a brigade of infantry or something, but you get the idea. Like they don't attack because they can't see anything to attack. So hopefully we'll play this out and they'll attack. And if they don't, I have some better ideas about how not to get dragged into a fight over here, which is where they tend to retreat once you take the flag. And I think ultimately I am inclined to allow probably, well, okay, if I had to pick one, I'd pick to let this one go. But there's part of me that's thinking about letting one of the units of skirmishers escape from this situation. Predominantly because I want them to be able to see me to try and think that they can charge or they can go on the offensive. The issue with that, if I'm being perfectly honest though, is they're fairly high skilled and they're going to cause all kinds of drama. So I'm not super inclined, now that I think about it, to allow them to live. Because if I do, they're just going to cause endless issues. All right. So that's going to happen the way that it happens, which is they're going to squirt out the back. How interesting. And then, then there's that. Every time I think I have this battle figured out, throws me for a loop. Well, I may get my wish. A depleted 2-star skirmisher unit providing spotting for the rest of the army is not the worst thing in the world, I suppose. Except that they're really good at hiding. All right. Well, this is going differently than usual. Should be a fun time in that regard. At the same time, though, it's going close enough to how I would expect this fight to go that, them squirting out here notwithstanding works out. You can see that they can see me. right? They can't see Fiasco. They can see these units because of them, but they know I'm here, which does presumably indicate that they'll go on the offensive, which is what I want them to do. Are they shooting at the 2nd Wisconsin? I can't tell. This is fine. Perfect. This will hopefully incline them to attack more aggressively, which I like. And this is the other thing about this fight. I've played this a couple of times. I've tweaked some of the settings, and they just tend to have small units in this battle. So I don't know if this is supposed to be like a reinforcing brigade or something, but yeah, I'm a little interested, actually, at that. That the brigades here are this much smaller than they were at Shiloh, for example. Perhaps the Confederates are licking their wounds as well. So now I'm desperately waiting for reinforcements. This is very different from how this battle has previously gone for me. I like that it keeps on throwing me for a loop, actually. Okay, awesome. So far, so good. So far, we've baited them into disadvantageous engages at multiple steps. Casualties are, obviously mounting, but not as bad as they could be by a long shot. And we're due reinforcements here shortly. I don't know when exactly, but not too long, I'd imagine. There's someone in those woods. Yeah. There's, I think I see rounds. Yep, there it is. Okay. This is exactly what I wanted to see happening. Believe it or not, this is exactly what I wanted. Because when I've played this in the past, I've ended up having to sort of carve nearly their entire army out of this block of trees. And it's just a really expensive process. And, yeah, absolutely the leading edge here, the Vanguard, is going to take some losses in this process of fighting this out. But I think we're going to be okay. Because we're going to get reinforcements here in a minute from this map edge, and then B, there's almost no chance that the 37th North Carolina is going to be able to press this attack through to make contact with 1st Dragoons. And then worst case, then I ought to be able to probably have wrapped this up by the time they're tuckered out, and then they either turn to fight 11th Rhode Island in the flank. I bring 8th New Hampshire up to support, or they keep chasing after 1st Dragoons, which is fine too as far as I'm concerned, and just tiring themselves out and putting them way out of position so that when my reinforcements come in, they're basically at point-blank range, ready to get, shattered, essentially. So this is why I am not running them down. I want the enemy to see me, to know where I am, to come and attack me on my terms. Because this is great. This is great for me, right here. They're basically in the open. I'm in the woods. Got excellent cover. And oh, look. Things just seem rough for 37th North Carolina all of a sudden. Suddenly it's not looking so good there, Chief, huh? All right, there we go. There's those units dealt with. And this is essentially the plan for the battle. I mean, not specifically this, but but drawing them into disadvantageous attacks, and then punishing them for them, and hopefully being able to scoop up whole units and grind some stats on the ones that are here. So one of the reasons I want that 4th pip in recon so badly is I would have a good idea, a much better idea of what forces are present on the map. Wow, charging while wavering. That's a bold move, Cotton. Even if I don't wrap the unit, this is still excellent stat gain for 1st Dragoon, so I consider this to be a very worthwhile endeavor regardless of whether or not I fully end up getting the 37th North Carolina Part 2. Honestly, I expect that I won't get them before they enter the water, and I feel the need to back off. But I'm getting plenty of kills here, which is good for efficiency. I'm getting plenty of melee stat, which is good for, you know, melee, obviously. And I use my Dragoon units as kind of a jack-of-all-trades cav unit. And this is just one more weak brigade for them to throw into the fight. 2. So we're about 50% on condition. At this point, I think it's time to cut my losses, of which there are a few. Back off, allow this unit to try and recover, and then bait it into more disadvantageous attacks. As you can see, I'm kind of prepping the ground to do that again. Oh, there's some losses mounting. Because it's only a matter of time, I think, before the other version of 37th North Carolina, yeah, there, they've already broken. So I'm going to try and scoop them up with 2nd Lancers. Normally I want all these supporting fires, but now I don't. Same deal. I'm watching condition. Once it gets to about 67, 50%, somewhere in there, I'll back off, regardless of whether I've wiped the unit. Even if I haven't, I've inflicted such egregious casualties that they're going to have a hard time recovering or being a combat effective unit in the process, or they'll just surrender. So what we get, we probably got a good deal of Lorenz's and musketry drill and then bayonet proficiency. Yeah, weird combo for them, but that's okay. All right, so we're going to retreat 11th Rhode Island off the line for a bit. I'll let them rest up. We're going to leave 2nd Wisconsin where it is. 3rd Illinois is going to move to support, and then I'm going to get the cav, excuse me, out of here to rest while everybody else gets put back on and fire orders. All right, so notice that I don't have 7th Maine deployed any further forward than this. This is because this is, actually I want them back even further than that. I want their edge of their firing to be on this edge of the cliff, or of the creek, because the duration of a volley, it especially for a brigade of this size, takes a bit. There's like a duration of time that unit's firing, and bigger brigades take longer to fire off their whole volley. So if they start shooting here, the majority of the firing time will be while the target brigade is in the water, and therefore that's a more effective use of your firing time. If you wait to start shooting until they get their tippy toes on the water, you put the edge of this white line halfway through the creek bed, for example, they're going to have units starting to come, or individual sprites starting to come out of the river by the time that you get your volley off, and you're going to lose some of that efficiency. So I tend to put maybe a wee bit forward, like right around there ought to be good. For my units now. Let's see if I can't. I don't know if I'm going to be able to bait a lot more of attacks at that point. So we've taken 3 brigades out of the equation, 1 skirmisher unit, so that's 4 of the whatever they get. Let's give our dudes a chance to get into position and them a chance to decide whether they want to attack again or not. The other thing is I have artillery, and the enemy here does not. They don't have cavalry, they don't have artillery. They have just infantry and skirmishers, and I've taken care of 1 skirmisher and severely reduced the other. On that note, however, we are going to deploy our skirmishers to give us better visibility of what's coming. One of the more exciting perks, changes, whatever in the mod, to me, is that skirmishers keep the perk of their unit. They're still not going to be combat effective units in their own right, but now they're not going to be liabilities. They're not going to just fold the second someone sneezes in their direction or something. So I saw 37th retreating up this way, which means they're probably not in that copse of woods, and I can think about going on the offensive up here, because this is the next phase of taking the middle of the map. Let's determine if we think they're going to attack or not. So far, no one can see me. Someone can see me here. Probably the skirmishers that were there before. Let's find out. Let's test that hypothesis. You're seen regardless. All right, there's the other skirmishers. So that's why they can see my front line, but they can't see my skirms. They're too far away. That does mean there's another brigade, and they split. So there's 2 more brigades at least, 3 on the map, and their numbers don't line up, but they didn't split. So there's at least 3 more brigades, and I know that the real answer is more like 5 brigades. But you're tired, so you need to rest up some more. Keep falling back. I need you to do recon, not get dead. You're not here to fight. So the 37th trying again. He's going to have a bad time. I think we will use scooping up the second iteration of the 37th North Carolina as the trigger for which my army will then be like, all right, cool, now it's time for us to go on the offensive. And we'll start working on trying to scoop up the 16th North Carolina up here. But based on my musket ranges, they shouldn't, and if I start taking fire, I'll back up, but they shouldn't be able to shoot me from the trees here. They shouldn't. They might, but they'd be shooting uphill, so they should probably be receiving a bit of a range debuff. Let's throw some skirmishers out there and see what we can see. So the reason I'm dismounting first paragraph, first Pennsylvania Dragoons, is spotting goes up when they're on their feet, as does stealth. When they're on horseback, they obviously have a harder time being stealthy, but they interestingly also have a harder time being spotting things. All right, yeah, I'm not really worried about this attack at all. And if that's the case, I can start pre-staging units. Okay. I don't think we need to worry too much about scooping the whole brigade. They're basically half strength at this point. So, concept of operations for what I'm going to try and do from here on out. We'll supply the artillery train, obviously. They're not going to make the big push towards my relatively weak position here that they tend to, which is fine. I've still managed to take the teeth out of a lot of their troops. There's 2 phases to the expansion before I kind of close the noose. Inevitably, we end up fighting in this copse of trees. I like to avoid it, but it just seems like it's an impossibility, so you're just going to have to accept the fight there. That said, what we can do is typically take this region from them and then also all of this from them too before that fight begins, and in the process they'll try and contest the middle here because that's where the flag is, and they'll blow to their nose quite a bit in that process. So no, that's not the button I'm pressing. I mean, it's the button I press, but it's not what I wanted to press. I've got the skirmishers here from 3rd Illinois continuing to figure out, probe where their flank is. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the 3rd Illinois because I'm not under really any pressure in that board position anymore. Similarly, I can reintegrate the skirmishers with 2nd Wisconsin and then move them to where 3rd Illinois was and shift 8th New Hampshire a wee bit further south because 4th Federals is covering a pretty good portion of this front. All right. and we'll go ahead and do that. Ultimately, 3rd Illinois will end up taking a position here while the Wisconsin boys hang out about here, and these 2 units will do a good job locking down this whole region of the field. And that's where I tend to see a good portion of their troops in the course of this fight. Actually. All right. Yeah, good. So as you can see, we're starting to cover a wider and wider frontage, but more and more thinly. This is, especially on this map, this is what I like to do because I know they don't have any artillery or cavalry. My scouts apparently have done a good job of detecting that. They don't have those things. And the end result here then is that I can kind of know that whatever attack they launch is going to come pretty slow and come pretty clumsily and be telegraphed by a long ways out. If they had cavalry, if they had skirmishers in larger number, that might not be a thing I can rely on because they would have a lot more operational mobility. One of the reasons I don't like huge brigades, and one of the reasons I don't like specialist brigades, is I then have to worry about where they are in the battle line. I can't just take whatever's everywhere. So I kind of build this army full of generalists, and yeah, they're jacks of all trade. They're optimized. They're optimized for shooting. They're optimized for close range like supportive melee, and I do need to buddy up brigades. You don't need to run. I didn't know that was on. All right. The 2 components here of 3rd Illinois can try and engage 22nd North Carolina for a while, and should be able to engage pretty favorably, I think. Except there are more units over there. Let's do this. Let's get 2nd Wisconsin on the fight and kind of open up a second front. This was inevitable. I was going to try and push on this front anyway, so it's good to know I'm going to do it now. Move forward to play the Lancers and see if we can't find an opportunity to make good too. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 visible brigades, but we can see the 38th here split, and the 37th did too, but we know we already got one of the brigades out of the 37th. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that we can see, plus an implied 5th because we have not engaged the 38th before now. So at least 5 still on the map. And again, I'm all but certain there are troops in these woods over here. And a skirmisher unit that we haven't taken care of yet either. Speak of the devil. All right. They've served their purpose. The enemy is not going to attack the middle anymore. So one of the skirmishers gone. Like that. Let's get some pistol volleys on the 22nd, see if we can't shake this fight up a little bit. Alright, they didn't get hit too hard, and that actually works out well because now we're rear flanking them and just in time for the 2nd Wisconsin to get in a position. Alright, so I think we're going to try and get these dudes a chance to rest for a second. And then fairly shortly here, no, you're fine. You go there. That's fine. Fairly shortly here, I'm going to do it now. I'm just going to go for it. Again, I feel pretty confident at this point that they're not going to attack. This is risky. But it might give us a better idea of what's around. Still nobody can see me. That's an interesting sign. Branch, there's probably a brigade here. There's probably a brigade there. Okay. We're shooting at 7th Maine, which means they are reloading, and I can advance safely with 1st Ohio. I can advance with a double, in fact. Just fired, and you're wavering. I'll see if I can't push you into broken. Or routing, actually. I don't think I'll be able to get broken. Not with the 38th right there. Yeah, the cavalry's having a great day. That went as smooth as I could possibly expect. I could possibly ask for it, too. Great. I'm not really asking the Rhode Island boys to do a lot of fighting in this battle. They are fairly green. I am just building up their time in the field, their stamina. These are just things you get for being on the battlefield. Some stuff for fighting, efficiency, firearms, melee, etc. For the most part, I'm moving them around, just having them block off certain pieces of terrain. And ultimately, I think I'm going to let things rest here for a minute and then try and see if I can't press the attack with, actually, the main can go up there. This was ill-advised. All right, yeah, that was pretty efficient. All right, cool. You can go back to shooting. You as well. From a casualty perspective, that was very efficient. We scooped up about 70 some odd kills for, I don't know, four or five losses. And the unit is now half strength. Excellent. We're getting great visibility on their troops. Just keep on resting. You've earned it. And they did a great job. The Lancers did a great job of spoiling that attack. I could have lost a lot more off of third in that melee engage than I did. And so you kind of can see, like, this, what I'm doing on the battlefield. This is not really historically appropriate. I would have probably had them all shoulder to shoulder or something. But what I'm doing is I'm creating these pockets. Sure, these guys aren't next to one another, but they're in mutually supporting positions. They can't attack third without getting shot at by second. You can't attack second without getting shot at by third. You probably can't attack second without getting shot at by eighth. And the entire time, the Ohio Lancers are here to support too. So this position, despite being fairly thinly manned, is really quite defensive. Same deal here with the 4th Federals. I can uncover the 1st Ohio to support the 4th. There's the 2 artillery, which already makes this position pretty difficult to attack. And even though the 11th Rhode Island is a fairly junior unit, and there's almost nothing to speak of going on over here to the far right of my line, I also have a pretty good idea of excellent visibility from this position so that if they were to attack, I'd see it coming long before it got to me. And they're bringing troops over to support, but they're going to just get chewed up in the process. Actually, I think I might be able to advance to the next objective, which is to say that cornfield and this farmhouse. And then this creates kind of a network of these little interconnected bunkers that all work together to cover a larger field of the battle than individual units might be able to control. Absolutely, I want to note, if the AI pushes one of these specific points with enough troops, or even just one brigade, I will probably have to give ground. But in doing so, they will then overexpose themselves or extend themselves to a position where they're getting shot by 2 or 3 or 4 units on their flanks. And it's kind of the, Roman Legion checkerboard thing. Where, yeah, there's individual unit flanks, but those individual unit flanks expose your unit to being flanked on 3 sides. Well, 2 sides, and then to your front. There are 4 of the 5 brigades on this battlefield visible right now, and they're all in just really disadvantageous positions. And I want to move the artillery even further forward now. And the supply wagon, and the general, and the other supply wagon. And we're just casting this net wider and wider, trying to figure out where everybody is, trying to see everything, trying to make it very difficult or impossible to go on the offensive, and trying to whittle away their army so that whatever does retreat into this copse of woods, inevitably, because I don't have the ability to move on this map swiftly enough to block it off. Whatever inevitably moves to that point, it's fairly weak when it gets there. It's weak, it's tired. I don't have enough recon to tell me this, but they've probably lost an officer, if not a division commander as well. So their efficiency isn't as high. Their stats, despite being high because it's legendary, aren't as high as they might be. There it is. So there is something in the woods there. Great. So We still know that that means there's another brigade somewhere out there. 38th North Carolina. We don't have visibility to it. These are a lot of regiments from North Carolina, it looks like. We don't have this 18th is a new number as far as we're concerned. And we still don't see the 1st Brigade of the 38th. But what I'm very interested to see as I continue trying to recon and probe is there just one more brigade in here? And the 11th is finally rested up, which is excellent. Because if it's just the 38th, the 18th over here, and then the 38th is somewhere in the middle, I can't move to attack here because I exposed my flank. If it was just the 18th, I could engage with the 1st Ohio, maybe the 1st Pennsylvania Dragoons, and block them from being free to turn. But I don't think I can do that. And what I want to do now is I want to start encouraging these units to target the New Hampshire boys, because the 3rd's been in the barrel for a while now, and I want to give them a break. Some much needed money. We're not going to complain about that at all. All right, great. So what I've done at this point is, typically speaking, the AI will target the closest unit. There's a couple of rules to override that the Panda guys have put in. One of them is for other artillery. They won't target the closest unit. Generally, they'll target the closest artillery unit unless there's a unit even closer than a second threshold. So you've got like a window or a range. Kind of like how it's a certain kind of shell between these two ranges. Same deal. Like out here, it'll just target the cannon. In here, it'll target the closest whatever. And then in here, it'll target the closest whatever or the closest cannon if... Are you shooting? Brains. Okay, so this may... You may, in fact, be... just one brigade. It may just be the 18th. Nope, there's the other 38th. So there's two brigades right here. That tells me what I need to know. Everybody else is so under strength as to be kind of not like a non-issue, but less of an issue. All right, so what we're doing now, we know we've got the 2 brigades here that are at full strength or near enough. And my intention basically is to come in with 7th Maine along this axis, 11th Rhode Island along this axis, while engaging with 1st Ohio from here in the cover and 4th Federals from here in the wheat field, or little cops of, whatever the growth is there. And then block off any further, movement so that there's just this really range that they can fight in with these brigades here. And I'm going to try and also see if I can't scoop up 38th North Carolina with the Lancers. That is a bit of a push, but these 2 units are teensy at this point, so I'm not really worried about them as much anymore. And the North Carolina has their eyes set on the supply wagon, which is great because it means I can kind of dictate where I want them to move. Hopefully. Because I want them to chase the supply wagon out here in the open, and then the Lancers can engage somewhere out here. Hopefully wrap up 38th in that process. All right, there we go. There's one of the other brigades I was worried about seeing. There's, 28th is a whole new number. Oh, there's another brigade. Okay, so there's a total of 3 we got to worry about. That's good to know. That does somewhat change things. Okay, I think if I'm going to try and scoop up the North Carolina Brigade, it's pretty much now or never. I want them in the open. Someone's charging. I think it's the North Carolina. The 16th doesn't say anything. The 16th North Carolina. These guys down here. Pretty sure they're charging the supply wagon. If I can do this without pressing the charge button, that is ideal. That might need to wait. Nope, it's fine. Nope, you do that. You go there. Get the 16th. They're smaller. It'll be an easier pickup. Also, well, no, you're engaged. You move to about meow, and then between the 22nd, between the 11th and the 1st, you should be fine for the 18th. You can move to the wheat field now, I think. The wheat artillery's in a good place, I think. And we should be okay. This is, however, definitely getting dicey. But there's little penny packets of Confederates all over the map. Yep, so that worked. There we go. We got him. So there's another brigade down here just off by its lonesome. Yeah, a little frustrated that I didn't pick up the larger brigade, but, you know, it's okay. I picked up a little one. Well, some version of this is an inevitability on this fight, in my experience. And I think this is probably like one of the least crappy versions of this kind of a stage of the fight that I've seen. They're spread out, they're wavering, their morale's not doing great, their attacks are kind of abortive. This feels like it's as good as it's going to be, really, in this kind of an engagement. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So there may be cleaner ways to play this fight, but this is one of the better playthroughs I've had, and I think it also one of the more interesting and dynamic ones too. So I'm really not complaining. I'm having a good time. with the fight. The AI's thrown me for a couple of loops. I've had to kind of get creative. I've got no complaints. Pretty happy with it. Pretty happy with the outcome. And you know, with the caveat that it throws a curveball for you every time. You can probably replicate this strategy because I've used the plan. Every version, every attempt at this battle, excuse me, has been the same plan. Yeah, I would too in their instance. So I'll walk through kind of what I'm doing with these melee cav guys. They're on the attack move order. As they get into pistol range, I hit halt, and they will reform for a second and then fire their pistols. And as long as they stay in this kind of little tiny ass cone here, they'll reload and fire. Oh wait, no, they've got revolvers. Okay, never mind. They have to revolve all the way at some point, or reload all the way at some point. In that case, I'll just send them in. And what I'm simply trying to do is like get an early volley off for a morale boost on my cav unit side, and then a morale attack on the infantry side. And as you can see, it takes a devil of a long time to reload revolvers, but I mean, at the same time, the flip side is they get to shoot 6 times in a row without reloading, so it's like an okay trade, obviously. Nervous about this. There's no reason not in this instance to go for the melee damage bonus associated with the charging buff. We're just trying to route them up real quickly. And I think we're done there. This guy's got to be exhausted. So melee cavalry, as you can see, require, a lot of micro. But if you use them right, they can pay huge dividends. And I think that's everything. So a little over 1,000 casualties. We'll get a few percent of them back. I don't remember how much medicine I've got, but it's some. Accomplished our objectives by wiping out the entire army. Took, like a relatively even loss rate across the entire army except for 3rd Illinois. A bunch of promotions for officers is always a good time, and also no casualties, which is doubly so a good time. What we pick up? Enough Lorenzas for a brigade, which is excellent. Untitled Texases, which is an interesting unit for skirmishers. Nice range on it, as you can see. Really great base damage. And that's about it. And some money. So yeah, all in all, pretty good excursion, so to speak. And Pick up any stars? We did. Ooh, that'll be fantastic going into the next couple battles. All right, so what's the third pick that we like? Rapid fire, which is an increase in or a decrease in reload time and an increase in unit speed. Well, that's actually pretty good. I think I felt like the artillery really struggled to keep up with the attack last battle, so that's good to know. Bombardment, not really for a Napoleon unit. Probably for the James, though. I might go with that for them. But for the Napoleons, I want them basically right up on the Army's ass. I know that these perks make that seem a little strange, but this first artillery unit is absolutely an infantry supporting unit. So let's go ahead and keep that perk. And then first Rhode Island finally picked up a star, and they're going to get the musketry training perk. We'll put our last pip into recon for probably the next while. I don't foresee myself putting any more into recon for a hot minute. I really want to get medicine in a good place. AO needs to be up several more pips. Econ's probably okay where it's at. I might like to see more logistics. I'm of two minds about training. On the one hand, this was always supposed to be kind of a medium or low training playthrough, and on the other hand, training is that good a stat. So I am trying to allow other stats to showcase, but it's just a very good stat. I'd like to pick up the Lorenzes. I think the 20-pound parrots are nice to have, so if I get them, great. If I don't, that's fine. I'm not worried about money or manpower, as you can see, and I'm not worried about colonels either, although I would like John Sedgwick and Joe Hooker. They are both fighting Joe Hooker. They are both good. But good commanders. I'll rebuild the army off screen. It doesn't look that bad, honestly. Not that worse for wear. Everybody here was, for the most part, 1,700, except for the Rhode Island kids, and they were at 2,000 when the battle started. So, like I said, fairly light across the board, except for 3rd Illinois, who still hasn't picked up their second perk again. And partially there is because I keep on engaging them in tough fights. So we'll be doing 7 Pines in the next fight. And 7 Pines is a great one where you're kind of rolling in to engage or support a faltering portion of Union line. You get very little lead up time. You just have to jump right into it. It's very exciting. And then Gaines Mill, which I may or may not try and do live. That'll be a longer recording, obviously. But Gaines Mill is a fun fight. It's presented as like a fairly static defensive fight, and there's the opportunity, I think, to play that battle much more aggressively, and it becomes a much more fun rolling field battle in that case than if you just try and man the trenches and let the stats carry you to victory in that regard. But first we're doing 7 Pines, also a really fun maneuver battle. This is a chance for the Army's skill at maneuver to really kind of showcase itself. But until then, I'm going to go ahead and clean the Army up off screen, and I will see you in the next one. This is Fiasco. Thanks again, guys. Have a great couple days, and I will see you on the field.